Well, thank you very, very much to the startup team, and thank you all very, very much for coming as far as you all did. I was absolutely gobsmacked when I saw all of the countries that you guys have come from. So you're very, very welcome to Istanbul. I'm over and back at this point now. I feel like I live in Istanbul. I spend an awful lot of time here. We have some great customers and some wonderful companies we work with. So I feel like it's welcome to a little bit of my city anyway. To introduce myself, my name is Richard McGuinness. I'm the Regional Vice President of Salesforce for the high-growth markets of the Mediterranean, Turkey, and Africa. And it wouldn't be a Salesforce presentation if I didn't kick off with a very short video. So let me just push on to that.
You say that you be my woman. I really don't mind if you make my day.
You know, I was really, really excited to have the opportunity to come along today because startups are very much the center of my world and the center of the Salesforce world as well. The Endeavor team we work with very closely globally. The Salesforce Ventures Fund, we have about 450 million under management. We've had, I think, 42 successful exits. We invest very heavily in the startup community and try to give a platform for companies to be able to succeed at scale and to be able to grow quickly and to always keep the customer at the center of everything they do. Part of the reason for that is this guy. Actually, the main reason for that is this guy. Mark Benioff, our CEO and founder, who's still very much involved in our business, is the visionary who's created Salesforce and effectively created an entire new business model and technology model when he launched Salesforce 18 years ago. So he was an executive with Oracle. If anybody knows his story, it's an interesting one. He was an executive with Oracle, and he went on holidays to Hawaii and was swimming with some dolphins, which sounds like a wonderful way to spend a holiday. But he had this notion of how could he democratize software? How could he take enterprise software and make it accessible for small and medium-sized businesses? Because in his mind, enterprise software was powering some of the biggest companies, some of the most successful companies in the world, but it was hard. It was a big investment in infrastructure, a big investment in software and hardware and integration, and he wanted to be able to make enterprise software as easy to use as it was to order a book on Amazon. And so he founded Salesforce 17, 18 years ago with the intent to bring that kind of enterprise class software to small, medium startup businesses. And over the last 17, 18 years, the success of the business has been significant. We've just passed the $10 billion run rate revenues. We employ about 27,000 people globally, and we're very proud to work with over 150,000 companies across the world. But we very much think like a startup. Still, this business grows at about 28% a year. So we've got to always be fresh in the way that we think of how we connect to our customers and how do we make sure that we're putting you guys at the center of our world. And I just put this little piece up today because last night it was announced that the Fortune Future 50 list was released, and Salesforce was the #1 company on the Fortune Future 50 list, which is companies that have the scale and the potential to have meteoric growth over the next couple of years. We ranked, I think we were #1, Tesla were #2, Facebook were #3 or 4. But it was a fine indication of how we still have this great appetite to grow and to continue to push the boundaries of what technology, what business, and what philanthropy looks like. Mark is the guy still at the very much at the center of the business, and he's the reason that I was inspired to join the company. This focus on startups has been one that we really do hold dear. I mean, the majority of our customers, 80–85% of our customers, are in the SMB or startup space. They've less than 150 employees. And we love working with them because they're the guys who are disrupting. They're the guys who are coming up with innovative ways to connect to customers, and they're the ones who are doing it at the speed that they need to be able to outcompete the big behemoths. And some of the companies we work with here, actually Endeavor mentioned one or two of them. We're delighted to work with cool companies in Istanbul like EasyCo, like EvTco. We work with great businesses in Turkey like Gitti Gidiyor and Hepsi Barada, with Vestel, with Arçelik. And the reason the big businesses like to work with us is because we have that kind of lean, change, do things quick and do things in an innovative way. And because they're on the same platform as all of our startups, the startups get access to the big stuff and they're able to use the same tools that the big companies are. So what I wanted to do, if it was okay, was to share with you my startup story before I joined Salesforce. And I thought it'd be useful to share it because my mindset has always been, how do I disrupt? How do I take an idea and turn it around and change it? About 9 years ago, seems like it's such a long time ago, I founded a company called WeFoundit.ie in Ireland. I came up with this idea I went to a car rental company, was standing in the line with the car rental company, and I noticed a heap of lost property sitting in the corner of their office. And I realized that stuff was never going to get back to its owner. There was CD collections, there was cameras, there was a handbag, there was stuff that had been left in the back of a car. I realized there was boxes like that all over the country. And I figured, well, how do we make sure that those pieces go back to companies or go back to customers and take it out of the hands of the companies that have to deal with it? Because it's a non-core headache. So I contacted a few friends who I knew in the hotel and nightclub industry. I asked them the question, was this a pain in their neck as much as it was for car rentals? And they said, yep. So while I was working, I set up WeFoundit. And I basically took over our front room. My wife was delighted to see all these bags of lost property from all of these nightclubs and different bars all coming in. Brought in a CTO, a good friend of mine was my co-founder, and we started to build the business. And over the couple of years that we were coming up through the ranks, we featured in all the big newspapers. We were on TV and radio. We had an enormous amount written about us. We got some good local seed funding. And there was a little sign in the window of every pub and nightclub and hotel in Dublin saying, if you lost something, just call 1-800-FOUND-IT. But we made a bit of a mistake. And I remember very clearly when my CTO and I sat down and we tried to figure out what exactly we were going to do in terms of building a platform to be able to connect all of the items and the claimants and the companies together. We looked at Salesforce and we looked at another company. And at the time I said Salesforce was too expensive. So we went with another company and we decided we were going to build, in effect, a cloud-based model that would allow us to connect all of these objects together and be able to run all of that data in a way that was going to allow everybody to kind of collaborate. And the first phase of development, I outsourced the development. We had found a great company on Elance based out of India. It took me 9 months to get to the point where we could release version 1. And up to that point, I was running all my business on Excel, on Access, on every other system I could possibly find, little Post-its stuck all over the place. By the time the 9 months came around, sure, I'd brought in about 40, 50 new customers. Then I realized that all of those customers had a different requirement. And in order for me to pivot and be able to change, I had to go back to the technology stack and rebuild. And that took me another 6 months to come out with version 2. So in the first 15 months of the company, I spent probably about 50, 60% of the time focusing on the technology, focusing on this underpinning, and trying to make sure that I was building something that the customer would want. And every time I talked to a customer, I got a new idea. Every time I talked to a new claimant, I got another idea. And we couldn't pivot because the technology stack we'd customized, we'd built ourselves, and it was a total frustration that all these cool ideas, as the customers were coming into shape, we couldn't move to them because we didn't have the ability to develop quickly enough. And it was an enormous source of frustration for me then when I joined Salesforce, and I realized that I could have done all of this literally out of the box. And if I'd invested in the technology partner rather than trying to build it myself, I could have done what I should have done, which is focus just on the customer, and made sure that we were then able to pivot and change to be able to get the solution that they needed rather than the one that I thought they needed 15 months ago. So I stuck up some press articles. You mightn't recognize me. I've grown some hair, both here and, well, it's gone from there. But if I had $1 for every time I was in the press in Ireland and the different pieces we did, I would have had a very successful company. Anyway, after 4 years, we decided to pull it down. I hadn't paid myself a salary in about 1.5 years, and my wife with 2 small children said, "What in the name of God are we going to do?" So we went on, and I joined Salesforce. But I love to be part of this startup community. I love the energy that goes into connecting customers and connecting businesses in new ways. Because one of the things I know from my own experience is it's actually very bloody hard to be a startup. It's very hard to run a small business because there's so much information that comes at you. Whether you're thinking about bringing in staff or you're thinking about technology, you're thinking about invoices, you get all of this different information that's coming at you from 1,400 different channels. And how the hell do you stay ahead of this? Each of these pieces then are sitting in different little silos. There's an Excel sheet over here, or there's an inbox over there, or there's somebody else has got something stuck on their laptop. And ultimately, if we don't have the customer at the center of our business, we're kind of forgetting what actually is going to drive our growth. If you've got all of these different systems and all of these different tools, and they're not connected, it's actually impossible for you to focus on the customer. All of the conversation that you should have is, how can we put the customer at the center of our world? How do we make sure that every time that we think of the way our product's going to change, how we're going to pivot, what we're going to do next, how's it going to impact the customer? And I say very, very clearly from personal experience and from all of the startups and the small businesses that I see as I travel around Africa, travel around Mediterranean, and travel around Turkey. I spent a lot of time in the Middle East over the last couple of years with Salesforce as well, so I know intimately the type of startup community that comes out of Kuwait or out of Dubai or out of Lebanon. The customer's got to be in the middle of your world. And if you have the opportunity to be able to pull all of those disparate pieces of the customer story together in one system, then you can begin to understand the customer. If you've got one view and you've got another view and the other guy that's going to take the phone call tomorrow has a different view, the customer is never going to be understood. And more than that, the customer themselves are constantly changing. So what you think you know about a customer, or what little piece each of your silos of data holds about the customer, well, that's changed again because the customer is constantly in a dynamic and fluxing state. And what I find remarkable is that customers aren't being educated or informed by your competitors. They're being educated and informed by companies that they experience like Uber, or like Evtico, or like Hepsiburada. They're not being influenced by your direct competition. Their expectations are shifting up because technology has changed so rapidly. They want a convenient way to be able to engage with businesses. They want a way to be able to have a personalized experience. They don't want to feel like just a number in a company's journey. And the old way of buying things for customers was very functionally based. It was all about the product. Did it do this? Did it do that? Did it do the other? The expectation now is your kind of product, it's almost table stakes. Products are supposed to do that. Customers now want to have an emotional connection and a relationship with the businesses that they work with. They actually want to feel like they mean something to you, and you want to be able to build a kind of a one-to-one relationship with them rather than them feeling like they're just one-to-many. And the irony is, as I said, most companies don't get this. Most startups and SMBs, 85% of them, are still using Excel to manage their customer contacts. They're still using systems that aren't talking to one another. And so the customer has kind of stepped away from them as they've been Instagramming and they've been tweeting and they've been engaging with technology in new ways. They've just left, they're leaving businesses behind. And so the ask is, how do you close the gap? How do you make sure that you bring those two pieces together, the customer and your business? And companies that do it see a fourfold increase. The companies that are leading in this connection to their customers. Are you going to tell me when I'm running out of time? Because I'll stand up here. I've got it. Okay, great. Oh, perfect. All right. Because I could just stand up here all day, which would be terrible. You've got to be able to close this gap, because it's that gap, in fact, that's the space for disruptors. And ironically, for a lot of the startups and the new hyper-growth businesses, it's that gap that they're serving where the traditional businesses didn't. If you think about it, Airbnb, Uber, Facebook. Airbnb, they're the biggest travel company in the world. They don't own a single hotel room. Uber, they're the biggest transportation company at the moment in the world in terms of valuation. Don't own a single vehicle. Facebook, they're the biggest content delivery platform. They don't create any content themselves. And what they did is they spotted the gap between who's creating the content or who's driving the vehicle or who's renting a room and the customer. And they got into that gap and they brought those two pieces together. Those companies are naturally customers of Salesforce's, so we're delighted to have them all as partners in our business. And they use our technology to be able to help that customer conversation come together. So what we propose, what we offer, and the Salesforce platform delivers, is a way to be able to connect all of these stories together. It helps you connect how you find your customers, how you win your customers, then how you keep them, and then how do you grow your business. And I'm going to go through each of those points in a little bit of a high level for you now. And the first thing is how you find customers. How exactly do you market? How do you build out a funnel that's going to be able to give you the type of customer numbers that you're going to need to be able to build scale and to be able to grow your company? If you're able to find your prospects in any channel, it means that you're able to track your prospects and the companies that could work with you across, on average, of 5 different channels. Google report that 90% of purchases are made after having gone through a 5-channel connect to a company that they want to work with. And what that means is they're going between mobile, they're going to your app, they're going across, they're using email, they may be making a phone call, they might be calling into a store. They're having all of these different types of conversations. So you as a company have got to figure out how do you bring them all into one space, and how do you make sure that you can have a cogent conversation across all of those different channels. You want to be able to personalize the journey for the customer so that it feels like you know where they are in that journey across those channels and in their own buying decision. And you want to make sure that it feels like a one-to-one journey. It doesn't feel like a one-to-many journey. And the next piece is that you've got to be able to build campaigns, build ones that actually give you as a company insights into your prospect's behavior. So when you go looking for a customer, and you go through your prospect channel, you want to be able to get a report on how exactly you're going to get the return on investment information. You have a question? So, I mean, the omni-channel experiences, I think there's, if anybody wants to shout out more channels than 5, there's oodles of them. Whether it be email or web or social, mobile, on the phone, in person, all of those ways that you could potentially touch a customer. And you've got to be able to bring the story and connect the story for the customer on their journey as they understand your company. Because remember, by the time a customer picks up the phone and calls you, they've done 70% of the research already. They're 70% down your sales funnel before they've even reached out to you and you've had the first opportunity to talk with them. So making sure that that 70% is being nurtured in a way that's meaningful and nurtured in a way that gives you a ready customer or a ready prospect at the time they start to talk to you is super important. Now, Salesforce works with a lot of companies. We have the Salesforce Marketing Cloud. We look at being able to give companies up to 41% more leads in the first 12 months when they begin to work with us. We spend a lot of time looking at our customers' success, because if we don't, we're a subscription company. And at the end of the day, if companies come to us in the first place and they don't succeed, they won't renew with us. So it's super, super important for us when we begin to work with companies that they actually get what it says on the tin and we exceed that expectation. So we have a third-party company who researches 5,000 of our new customers every year and asks them what's been the net impact of working with Salesforce across that period. And so the figures that I'm going to show you today are direct feedback and average feedback from our new customers over the last year. So 41% more leads makes a big difference. And bringing those guys through the journey so that they're ready to talk to you is enormous. The second piece is, and I think a lot of the founders in the room and a lot of the guys who begin the journey with their business, they're passionate about what they do. They know how to sell their business, but as their company scales, they've got to make sure that they've got a winning and repeatable sales process. Because you're now going to put your sales message into the hands of a team that you're going to hire. You're going to bring in a new director of sales or a sales manager or hire a sales team. You're going to have a telesales agent who's going to be making calls on your behalf or taking inbound leads from a marketing campaign. You want to make sure that they're following a repeatable and optimized sales process. If they're not, then you're effectively leaving your message in the hands of somebody who isn't as passionate as you as the founder. They won't get why the company needs to, or the customer should buy from you. So making absolutely sure that you have that process locked down and it's easy to follow will make an enormous difference. The other thing here is this understanding of your sales pipeline and the ability to forecast. One of the reasons Salesforce has, aside from our own Salesforce Ventures arm, we work with most of the major VC funds and most of the major capital investors globally because they come to us and they ask us to help with the companies they acquire or the companies they onboard to get a lens that they're able to see what's going to happen next for the business. And companies who use Salesforce, going to the VC teams, they've got a way to be able to demonstrate what is the pipeline of business they're working on. What's the forecast that they've got? How are they going to be able to continue to grow next month, next year, and beyond? And to go back to the point that we talked about in the Endeavor conversation, it's about making lines in your business, not points. It's about being able to not just give data today, but how that's tracked over the last 12 months and how you project it's going to track over the next 12 months. So having that forecastability is super, super important. And again, for us, when we work with companies in the first 12 months, we usually see a 29% increase on average in the number of deals that customers close on our platform, because they're able to follow that simple process to make sure that they're optimized in every sales conversation. The next piece is actually keeping the customers that you get. Because if you find yourself in a situation where you got a leaky bucket and customers are falling at the bottom of your business, then you've basically wasted every marketing dollar that you've spent. It costs 7 times more to acquire a new company and to acquire a new dollar of revenue than it does to get a dollar of revenue from your existing customer base. So think about that from the point of view of where you're going to invest your money. If you're going to go out and you're going to make a big shout about your startup and you're going to make a big noise about what you're going to do as a company and how brilliant you are, super. And you get somebody to start working with you. If you don't take care of that customer and you don't have a way for them to be served in a really meaningful way, then you're goosed. If you can't continue the relationship and keep their trust and build in an ongoing basis value, then you're going to start to lose customers quicker than you can put them in. And it probably is one of the biggest challenges we see, myself and the SMB team in Salesforce. We see companies that are massively running towards their prospect base. They see an opening in the market and they gallop towards it at a pace. And then they get a customer and they forget to take care of them. They don't serve them. And Salesforce's platform, again, connects all of this find and the winning and the keeping of customers to make sure that you only have a single view of a customer. You know what the customer, when you're serving them, you know what they've done as they came through your marketing pipeline. You know what you've sold, you know who connected with them. You know all the conversations and emails and social connects they made. And so when it comes to serve them, you understand them. And you can begin to not react to the service queries, but you can start to become proactive. And even better still, you can start to become predictive. Because the magic happens when you as a company are able to predict where your customer is going to be next, and you're one step ahead of them. Because that's where value is in a relationship. If you can guide your customers and bring them forward in the, and help them grow, then you guys will naturally grow too. There's another piece about helping customers help themselves. If you're able to give the customer the tools, and it was one of the things when I started, we found it, I tried to build a community platform to allow the customer companies to be able to come in and manage some of the claims and manage some of the items themselves. Because I realized that if I was going to scale this business, which I never quite did, if I was to build a company that could scale, I needed to be able to have that customer service automated or in the hands of my customers as much as possible. And I'd urge you guys too to consider how you're going to be able to help them serve themselves. Because if you can give them the information that you already know, if you can set up a community so they can self-serve, well, that reduces your service cost and increases your customer satisfaction. And for us, again, using the Service Cloud for small and startup businesses, we see an increase of 34% in customer retention across the first 12 months of operation. So all of these things, the finding of customers, the winning of customers, and the keeping of customers are important. But you as startups have got to figure out how do you grow your business? How do you make sure that you're going to be able to scale? And it's why, again, companies choose to work with Salesforce, because whether it's a company with one employee, Naz Mayard, one of the SMB leaders for Turkey, and I were chatting yesterday with a company. We mentioned we have customers who sell with one license who sell carpets online. So how does that guy make sure that he's using the same tools that the companies like Bank of America or the companies like Coca-Cola Isacek or the big businesses use? It's extraordinarily powerful as you start your business up to know that once you accelerate and once you begin to grow at a hyper pace, as you hope to, you don't have to stop, pull in the car, take the wheels off, refit them, and then get prepared for the next stage of growth. Because the growth curve in your business won't be linear. It's not a direct line. You will go through pivot points as you look to scale. And each of those pivot points are an opportunity for your business to skid. The pivots are where you're going to have to scale up. And what we would ask customers and companies to consider is, how do you see your business scaling in the years ahead? If you reach one of those nexus points and you don't have a system that allows you to scale into the next wave of growth, you're going to literally have to stop, put all the tools down, figure out how you're going to be able to map your current system that might be built, or in your mind's eye, built to serve you when you're only 5 employees, and suddenly you got 50 employees. How are you going to change that stuff around? So Salesforce gives you a platform as a startup and as an SMB that allows you to put in place the type of processes that will allow you to scale. You need more users, make a call to NAS. You need or go onto your self-service portal, add another couple of users. You need to be able to add in marketing to the front of your business because you didn't choose it at the start. Well, that's okay. Order it again online, and it's literally live tomorrow. No integration, no issues. Everything is built on exactly the same code base. We have a multi-tenant platform, so all the companies, big and small, are operating on exactly the same code base, which we then upgrade 3 times a year. So your customers, as they move, we're trying to stay ahead of them. We've invested enormously in making sure we know who your customers are, and we watch what they're looking to do. The new innovations of AI, the way that social, the way that mobile, all of those revolutions over the last couple of years, we invested heavily to make sure that our customer companies were able to take advantage of it without having to re-engineer or upgrade, pull business systems down and rebuild them again. So making sure that you're able to grow your business and have a system that goes beyond just the view of your company today, but looks towards the future is massively, massively important. Again, companies that work with us, typically on their top-line revenues in the first year, see a 31% lift in the revenue. But that's actually a figure, and I remember when we chatted with 1 or 2 of our startup customer companies in Istanbul, 31% for a lot of the guys in the room here is nothing. The expectation is you guys should be looking at 300% growth. I mean, the scale that you guys want to grow at, I hope, is more than 31% on a year-to-year basis. But think about what it's going to mean for your company if you do hit the milestones that you've set and you do achieve the goals that you've asked yourself to hit. And then you've got to pivot and rebuild and re-architect. And also, please don't make the mistake I did, which was building a system and spending 60 or 70% of my time focused on the system rather than on the customer. Have a partner, whether it be Salesforce or somebody else, have a partner that you know you're going to be able to keep your customer journey in one clean place, that you're going to be able to make sure that you can serve the customer and you can focus your development effort or your business development effort or your relationship building effort on VCs or customers or the stuff that actually is going to make your heartbeat start to really increase. So this sort of summarizes who the hell we are and what the hell we do. We have built a platform. Salesforce is we're effectively a platform company with applications like sales and service and marketing and communities built on top. Now, sure, you can go ahead and build them if you wanted to. You could get onto our code base and you can build those pieces, but you could build the chairs in your office and the tables. You know, you could do those things too, but it's not what you do, not what you should be doing well. We look after that. It's a utility, in effect, that allows you to switch on a CRM in the same way as you switch on the lights and you come in the morning, or you expect to be able to fill your kettle with water by turning the tap. Salesforce looks after all of this with a very secure, metadata-driven platform that allows businesses to scale and grow, and ultimately allows customers to be kept at the center of everything you do. So to summarize, some of the stats and facts about Salesforce are great. All of this is a big brag slide. But actually, those figures aren't as important to me to share with you as it is to make sure that you're putting the right thought into how your business can scale and how your business systems, where is your value as a company? It isn't in recreating what Salesforce does. It isn't in rebuilding what Google and Facebook and Amazon, they all use us. They all built their customer-centered customer journeys on the Salesforce platform. Google could, with the technology team they've got, eat us up and build their own version of Sales Cloud and have something to manage their customer base. But they choose to work with us because they know that's not what they do best. And I'd urge you guys to figure out what you do best. And if it isn't building a competitive CRM, and if you are building a competitive CRM, please come over and talk to me. I'm more than happy to invite you to our Salesforce Ventures next meetup. But if you're not going to focus on building a CRM, leave it to us. We'll be delighted to help you grow and increase your business and to partner with you in the journey ahead. I've got exactly 7 seconds over time, so perfect. This is the last slide. We again, for our customer success, we focus on making everything available and open to you guys. So if you want to have a look at how secure our business is, you can go on to trust.salesforce.com, see all of the pen tests and all of the things that we do to make sure our network stays up, have a look at all of the bits and pieces. But this is our learning platform that we launched about 6 months ago. It's called Trailhead. And if you take down one thing from the presentation today, please have a look at trailhead.salesforce.com. And Trailhead is a platform to allow you as a business not just to figure out what the hell Salesforce is, but figure out what is CRM. Figure out how exactly you build a marketing journey. Think about how it is that you build a business. There's lots and lots of cool trails on there, self-guided sort of learning journeys that we publish for free to help businesses like you guys grow more quickly and serve more customers. So I'll jump off the stage and I want to say a big thank you all very, very much. I'm going to be here for a couple of hours in the mentor sessions and hope to be able to catch up with one or two of you. Thank you so much for your attention and I hope you have a great weekend.